Just because you have specific skills, experience, and goals for your research does not entitle you to funding. A funder has priorities, an institutional structure, and ways of communicating their requirements. There are a great number of organizations, institutions, and individuals that fund research. You should consider the different kinds of funders you could approach and how their structure might influence or how they may perceive any given application. You probably already know the major funders in your subject area. If not, a brief chat with a senior colleague will be helpful. For more help, one of the best online resources is Research, www.researchresearch.com, which features as a searchable database of funders and funding calls across several countries. In the next segment, we will be talking about government funding and charity funding. Government funding of research has long been seen as a careful balancing act between avoiding direct funding decisions made in favor of governmental policy and should be seen to deliver value to taxpayers. Funding for research proposals is usually dealt with through a government agency, an agency that is part lobby, part civil servant. Especially in times of government cuts, we must bear in mind the value to the general public is a key consideration in applying to governments for research money. Charities are the second most common form of funding bodies. In fact, almost a quarter of the research funding a university receives comes from charities. While charities like Cancer Research UK, Welcome, etc., are most often associated with medical causes, many others, like Joseph Rowntree Foundation, UNICEF, are devoted to social causes. Rest of them are less tangible, but no less important, and could be related to causes such as human happiness. For example, Templeton Foundation, Leverhulme Trust, and Volkswagen Foundation. Whatever the aims, most charities are internally directed by a specific historic ethos, which determines their priorities. You must take careful note of these ethos and do your best to show how your research fits in with it. Although quite distinct from each other, both NGOs and commercial companies are, generally speaking, unprepared for working with universities' institutional bureaucracies. So, you might have to do more hand-holding than with a charity or research institution. NGOs and commercial companies choose academics first, then decide the scope of work. If they choose to publicly announce their intention to commission research, they will do so through an invitation to tender. The upside to working with NGOs and industry is generous funding and an opportunity to shape the terms of your research, as long as the funding partner agrees. The wrinkle here is, to get this kind of liberty, you have to be known in the field already. Once you know the funders of your field, you can take the next step in considering your application. However, don't forget that your research skills can be useful in other subject areas, particularly as part of a team of researchers. In Europe, and the US at least, there is a trend towards multi- and cross-disciplinary research. Since a long time, proposals have suffered from a lack of attention to what the funder will and will not fund. Nowadays, almost every funder puts out calls of one kind or another, offering you a clue to the kinds of applications they want to receive. Such calls have arisen because quite often, academic researchers think of their research first and the funder second. There are three ways a funder will advertise opportunities. The first is an open call. You tell us what you want to do. The second is a directed call. We have a topic we're interested in. You tell us how you will research it. The third is an invitation to tender. We know what we want. You tell us how you would get us there. In all three cases, a good funder will give you the information you need to make a competitive proposal. It's up to you to read their calls and decide how to make the best of your application. To illustrate how one can read a call, let us look at a call by the Leverhulme Trust, which funds 50% of a researcher's salary, with the rest being funded by the host institution. You should consider asking the following questions. Who do they want? Leverhulme is not nearly as interested in where you've been as they are in where you're going. There are a few restrictions in terms of subject matter, and they don't mind where you want to go. All they need, it seems, is for you to have a novel idea, a PhD, and a host university. What do they want? The Leverhulme Trust wants blue sky thinking. They want interdisciplinarity. They want something cool, something new. They want your craziest and best ideas, and they want to be dazzled. The only deliverable that they mention at the outset is a significant piece of publishable work. Why do they want it? They want to be a foundational funder for the UK university system, so they want the researcher to identify a host UK institution to carry out their project. How do they want it? Leverhulme doesn't mind how you do your research. They want to know about your methodology, which will be checked by an academic reviewer, and if that checks out okay, they will make a decision to fund or not at a board meeting. Clearly, there is no magic trick to this, but you must make sure that you carefully take account of the required outcomes and background information. You will be very lucky to get funding from Leverhulme if you don't connect with your host institution and work out a joint plan that is clearly evident through the application.